Welcome back to the community, everybody, and thanks for being part of it. I appreciate all of you that have subscribed and followed along on this journey. Today, I'm going to go ahead and do a master cylinder replacement. And for those following along, I know you're thinking, you didn't even do brake lines or anything yet. Yeah, there's a reason. We're going to do a lot of brake line videos and how to bend them, well, 2 videos, properly without buying a bunch of stuff. What we're doing today is the master cylinder replacement so that I can get the camera angles. There's no gas tank in, no trunk lid right now, no wheels on it, so I can get good camera angles so you can see exactly what to do. And I'll also explain a few things to watch for and be careful of so that you do it properly and don't have an incident. So let's get on it while I have some stuff apart and we can get the camera in there where we need to. So let's climb aboard and get it done. All right, so you can see my gas tank is out, everything's out of the way. And I thought, what a great time to do a master cylinder video. That way I can get the camera in there and show you what's going on and on the inside, especially while nothing's in here, like this seat or anything. So I can get really good views on this. So let's go ahead and get on it. Okay, so we are inside the driver's side inner well, and this will go for Super Beetles too, okay? It's the same type of setup, so it's not like you're going to be fumbled if you have a Super Beetle versus a standard when it comes to this. It'll just be a little trickier to get to it with a Super Beetle, okay? So here we go. You're in the driver's side of the vehicle, and what you will notice is the brake lines are already off of there, okay? Because I was already doing work and doing my frame head cleanup. Looks good, don't it? But anyhow, we still got to do the firewall. Enough rambling. Anyhow, I already have the brake lines off, okay? So you'll need to loosen your brake lines up. The best thing to do, and always remember, is spray some PB Blast on. One thing I like to do before removing the brake lines is take a tiny little wire brush. You can get them at the dollar store. They have brass, they have steel, they're little wee ones. Take your little wire brush. This one broke regardless, it's 50 years old. Run it around the threads real good and around where the line meets the fitting, okay? Run the wire brush around her really well, then spray with PB because you're getting the loose stuff off of there, okay? So run your wire brush around there, spray it with PB, let it soak, spray it again, let it soak. Loosen your line with a proper flared wrench, okay? Back and forth, spray, back and forth until you get it all the way out, all right? You're going to pull your plugs, and you're going, you have 3. Well, mine's older. It has an idiot light in the middle of the dash for brake warning. The light comes on after you've lost your brakes. Pull these off, okay, and just put them aside, out of your way, okay. Try again. There we go. Out of our way. Now, you have your hoses on top. You're going to pull the hoses off. I cut them because I was putting all new hose and everything on. So remove your hoses. Just take a little pair of, let's just this plastic here, these fittings. So take a little pair of needle nose or whatever, loosen them up and get all your lines loose, okay? So you gotten that far, and this is what it should look like now, although yours probably has just 2 fittings on it, and we'll go over that in the end. For people that have 3 fittings because they no longer do. It's okay. We'll make it right. So let's go to the inside of the car now and get things loosened up. Okay, so we are inside the car. There's your pedal assembly. If my pedals look far apart, I put an extender on there. Check my video. And we will go ahead now. We got to remove the pedal assembly first to get it out of the way. So we're going to get on and show you where the bolts are. All right, so you have a 17mm headed bolt there, and then also on the other side of it, like you see here. So get a 17mm socket with an extension. We got out of focus here for some reason. Okay, we got out of focus. I don't know what happened. Get your 17mm socket, and we're going to go ahead and remove that. So let's get on that. All right, so we're going to take our 2 17mm bolts loose. If yours hasn't been loose in a while, they could be a little stubborn, so trying desperately not to get in your way. Mine were already loosened up, obviously, because I already had this apart to do the pedal extension video. What a good video that was. I did that. I'll talk while I'm loosening this, of course. I did that video on spreading the pedals apart, and I gotta tell you, I was really happy with this. And of course, the pedal rebuild video maybe will help a few people that their pedals are stiff and need taken apart and cleaned up. So we're spinning these off. You can see the pedal falling while my bolt's stuck. Remove your 17 bolt, the one back here. Okay. Now, see this here? That goes into the master cylinder. Okay. It's just a pin. It'll come out. Now, I do not have a throttle cable or a clutch cable hooked up. I told you why I'm doing a video now. While no interior's in, it's better for filming. So, we're going to go ahead and pull the assembly out. You have your pin going through the master cylinder. Take this clip. It's going to go flying in a minute. Come on. This is what holds. There we go. Wow. I don't know where it went. Anyhow. Okay, now you do which way you want to do it. Just trying to get more light in there. But I'm going to remove my pedal stop out of the way because mine is a lot bigger due to the big boy pedal extension. Now watch, if yours has been on there a while, don't go breaking that bolt. But this is the way I do it. If you don't want to move the pedal stop out of the way, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you. I just do it because mine's pretty big, and you'll see why in a second. See, mine's bigger. Whoop, there you go. Mine's bigger than a factory one. So, okay, let me see if I can get this spring to release. Yep, I did. Okay, and then I have my clip off. I'm trying to work with one hand to not get in your way, but that ain't gonna happen. Okay, then you pull this out. Okay, it is so hard to film some things because you end up in a way half the time, but you can see what I did. Now, obviously, like I said, I don't have a clutch cable on mine right now, but I took advantage of filming it while nothing was in the way. Now, you're going to take a 13 millimeter and you're going to loosen the bolts up, going to the master, holding it in. Alrighty. Let me, oh, there's the clip. That's the clip that holds the pin on that went flying on me. All right, so that bolt's loose. That one's not loose enough to turn by hand. Now watch, I'm going to show you something before I pull these bolts out. Of course, always something to show. Side there is spacers. We've talked about this in my other videos, but if you're new to my channel, there's spacers inside of there. Okay, so before you go pulling the bolts out all the way, which I know mine are stuck in there, remember these spacers are inside of there. And you need them in there. I'll show you when I pull the master what I'm talking about. Now that you're going to pull the master, you have all your lines off already, the connections for your plugs, and you have your hoses pulled, okay? Remember, don't cut them. I was replacing mine with new ones. Go ahead and give a little pull, and off comes the master. Okay, we'll go over to the workbench in a second here. Okay, so there is where the master came out of. That is a double firewall. You have metal here and then another layer on the inside. Sorry, I bumped the camera. You see that long spacer there? Yeah. Don't lose those. If they fall down, get a magnet, pick them back up. They can't fall that far. Clean them up real good and make sure them bolts go through them spacers. If not, you can lose your brakes in a panic stop. I'll explain in a second. Now, your master cylinder, the 2 bolts go through the firewall, okay? Now, when you push on your pedal, you're putting stress against this. The pin pushes the master cylinder. If you do a panic stop and those spacers are not inside of there, and there's a good chance that it could crush this firewall in, and your pin is not going to push the master, causing you to have no brakes. Put the spacers in. So here's our old master and our new one. Let's open a new one up. I got this from Wolfsburg West. Okay. But you don't break nothing opening it. These are plastic. Well, the male ends for the hoses are. Not the master. Well, I've seen stranger things on newer cars, so. Okay. Now, let me turn it around here a minute. Okay. There's the difference right there. Now we're going to go over this real quickly. This is a 68, okay, and you have a warning light, as you see here. Okay, now this is what controls that warning light. It's to let you know the brake system failed. Well, I think you know that when your pedal goes to the floor. So I'm not going to do that. But what we'll end up doing is taking this switch and putting them there and there. I don't believe they no longer make the ones with 3 ports, okay? Now, you can take these 2 wires and splice one onto the wire and go into this, and splice one onto the wire and go on that, and make the light work still. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. There's ways of doing it. I'm not worried about the light. I'm probably going to put something else in place of it on the dash. So you don't have to have that if you don't want to. If you do, it's your choice. Wire into these 2 for that light to work, okay? So what you end up doing is putting your switches here, okay? I'm not completing the switches and the brake lines today, so I'm just going to show you how to reinstall the master cylinder, okay? And I'm going to explain something else in a minute here. So I'm not going to put these switches in now. I'm just showing you how to install the master cylinder, okay? But you'll want to obviously put these on before putting the master in. I've got to pull this back up because I got to redo the firewall. So I'm just showing you how the process is done. A lot of people like to bench bleed first. I don't bench bleed with Volkswagen master cylinders. I've never had to. If you have to or feel the need to, or somebody is going to be a wise guy and say you have to, well then do what you want. If you want to bench bleed, go ahead. That's perfectly fine. There's videos on it. I gravity bleed. And once I'm done gravity bleeding, I go ahead and have somebody pump the pedal, or you can use, the suction style. I never had to bench bleed them. We'll go over gravity bleeding as soon as we get this installed. So let's get this put in place now. Something else you're going to want to do, and it'll make life a lot simpler. These are the 2 bolts that hold the master cylinder in to the firewall, okay? You're going to want to wire wheel and clean the threads up real nice on these. So use whatever you have. If you don't have a benchtop grinder, use a little wire brush. Although, as cheap as these are really handy. Let's clean the threads up real quick and I'll explain why. It'll make sense. Okay, see how nice the threads are compared to, crappy, okay? The reason is you're not going to have a fun time putting this in to begin with, so you're going to want them to start as easily as possible. Okay, now if you're going to be doing this alone, sometimes it's not much fun because you can have somebody on the inside feeding the bolt through, having the bolts hang out, and you lining it up. We're doing this alone like a lot of you do. So we're going to line it up the best we can with the holes. I just have 2 little rubber pads here for the pedals. Okay, so I'm going to put one under there and one off to the side. And I'm going to get a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm going to try to line the holes up. Okay, seems pretty good there. So we're going to put any type of object. They don't have to be rubber pedal pads, but that's what I used. So we got it lined up pretty good, the best that we're going to get it right now, and that's going to hold it elevated up. So we're going to go to the inside now and try to see if they line up. Take our nice new clean bolts. Don't push real hard. Just see if you can feel it starting, okay? And it did. Let's go to the other one. With these threads cleaned, it makes it so much smoother to do because they want to start. I gotta get in your way a minute there. There we go. And that's how easy it is to do yourself. So we're gonna take our 13 millimeter, snug them up. I mean, well, tighten them, don't just snug them. Look up the torque specs. If you have a Bentley, or check Google. I don't give torque specs because I'm so used to doing them. I do my stuff by hand. Okay, let's take a peek out there. Okay, everything looks good. You could pull your little, well, I used pedal pads, so whatever you decide to use. But she's nice and tight. So what you can do right now is put your hoses back on, plug your fittings in, your pressure switches, plug plugs on them, and tighten your brake lines up. So let's go to the inside and hook up the pedal assembly. So let's get our pedal assembly ready. Okay. Now your pedal stop's going to look different. Like I said, I did the big boy extender, so mine appears differently to you. Now, we're going to go over one more thing. I'm sorry, you need to know this. What you have here is the pin that hooks to the pedal assembly and pushes into the master, okay? Whatever you do, don't turn this, okay? There's a lock nut on here, and you can break it loose, and that's how you adjust the rod going into the master. Don't do that. Do not turn this. This is adjusted how it should be. If, in fact, you do get a basket case car in pieces, or you didn't pay attention to this part of the film, then you're going to need to adjust this, okay? And I will do a video on adjustment for this because I forget the amount of play you're supposed to have, but it's very minute. Because if there's too much pressure on this the whole time, yeah, it'll apply the brakes on its own, so this pressure builds up. Don't touch that, please. Now, everybody seems to do this their own way, so just, it is what it is. I'm just doing it the way I normally do it. Now, obviously, I don't have a clutch cable or a throttle cable right now, and this wasn't about installing the pedal assembly. This was about doing the master cylinder. So make sure you bring your clutch cable out, hook it up, and, you know, feed it through. You can do it how you need to do it. You know, you guys know how to do that stuff, I think. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to slide this over like that, okay? You got to put your pin in. So the pin has to go on before the spring. So I'm going to slide that, whoops, I did it wrong. Put that through the hole, okay? And it can't hurt to put a little bit of grease around this so the pin slides in and out without pushing on the boot. Like I said, this is only temporary. I'm just doing this to show you the install. Okay, slide that on. We got to find our pin that flew before. There it is. Let me see if I can bring you in a little bit closer. You're going to have a little slot there that you snap that in, and that way it can't come off, okay? Let me back you back up. Okay, so you have your spring here. I really hate fighting with this stupid spring all the time, but I do. Some guys will position the spring and then use a little hoop tool to put it on the pedal assembly. I don't do that. I just do it like that. Okay, there, and that's in position. So what you're going to do from here is pretty much line this up, put your bolts in, because I got to re-pull this, okay? You're going to put your pedal stop back in. You want to see it? Okay. I was going to cheat because I got to pull it back apart. So let's put a bolt in. Watch you don't cross thread these. Take your time. I'm just used to doing it. That's why I'm spinning it in quick. Go to the back. It's fighting with me now because I'm on film. It's supposed to when you're filming. Okay. Alrighty. Take your socket. Spin it by hand so you know that you're not cross-threading anything. Okay. So we got to just put our pedal stop on now and then adjust it. Like I said, I do mine differently. You do yours how you see fit. And remember, your pedal stop is going to look different, okay? Mine is different because I have the big boy extender on to pull the pedals apart. So let me go ahead and do that, see if I can get the camera at a different angle for you. Just so you can see the difference, I paused and went and found something. Here is the stock pedal stop, okay? And then here's the one I'm using. That's because of the big boy extender. All your stock one is to hold the pedals from leaning forward. So that's what your stock one looks like, just in case you didn't know. But we're doing the big boy one. So I can't get you in a better position, so I'll take a photo when I'm done. You're going to go ahead and bring the pedals to the point where you can slide that pedal stop in and bolt it down so the bottom of it is not hitting, okay? I'll show you what I mean. Just let me get it in position first. Sometimes it's hard to film in some of these positions. I gotta get the brake pedal forward so I can get the bolt started, and then I'll show you exactly what I did so you know. Oh, hang in there. I gotta get a ratchet and tighten that up, and then we're gonna go over it close up where I can hold the camera. Give me 1 second. You see how the pedals are sitting? Whoops, the way they should. There is the pedal stop right there, and it's adjustable. So you will move the pedal stop back and forth to where you want your pedals to be sitting, okay? But they're in a nice position right there. So that's all it's to that. Then you will hook up your throttle cable, of course, and then put your pedal back on. Make sure you have that clip on there, okay? And then, of course, your nice new springs on are all cleaned up from when you did your pedal assembly. And everything looks nice and neat. Everything looks nice and neat, okay? It's not that hard of a job. Let's refresh the system real quick and go over a few things. I'm gonna let you guys go on about your day. Okay, one thing I wanted to touch base on is I said about that I don't bench bleed, I gravity bleed. If you want to bench bleed, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead. I've bench bled many master cylinders for GM, Ford, Mopars. I never had to in the Beetles. I do gravity bleeding. I actually loosen all the bleeders on our 4 master cylinders. I actually loosen the bleeders on all 4 wheel cylinders, okay, when I'm changing the master out, obviously. I let them go until they start dripping. As each one starts to drip, almost like a very fast drip into a stream, I tighten that one up. And then I watch the other 3 until you get down to having them all, you know, flow pretty steady. Then you have somebody get in and, you know, do your manual pumping and bleeding off. That's the way I do it, and I've had a great success with it and never had an issue. Do it which way you want. You can bench bleed, you can buy a vacuum pump. I try to do it the most simple way when some of us don't have certain tools to work with. So that's the way I do it. You do it with which way you please. It's all for the best in your own way. All right, so you see why I did that when I did. You don't have to remove your seat in your gas tank. You don't have to do all that. I took advantage of it so I could film it, because with all that stuff in place, it's pretty dang hard to get a camera into them positions. So I took advantage of it and I did the best I could with video. Now, always remember the spacers, like I showed you here. Make sure them spacers are in there. If you took it apart and they're not in there, get online and get a pair. They sell them. I'll show you right here. Make sure them spacers are in there. It is for your safety. I don't care who tells you, well, I didn't have them in or didn't have a problem. Well, they're pretty fortunate then. Good for them. However, make sure to take your time with your brake lines. Wire brush a little bit around them lightly, lubricate, loosen them up gently back and forth, okay? And I removed my pedal stop. If yours looks rotted and rusted there, don't remove it. Do it with the pedal stop in. I already cleaned mine up in advance when I did the pedal assembly video. So that's it for this week's video. I really hope everybody enjoyed it. I take advantage of things when I can with filming, so I thought it was the perfect time to do that while nothing was in the way where I could get the camera in there. Okay, I hope everybody had a great Friday, and stay tuned tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the live video chat. Thanks for being part of this community. We're building a club. It's great. See you soon.